inspector for Nigerians bag integrity icon award. And lastly, Lagos ranked 14th largest city globally. Continue.
All right, let's move over to Daily Sun. PDP chairmanship, BOT wants Damagum out. Zone seats to North Central, turns Enugu to review harsh policies and corruption. NEPC frowns at $480 million expenditure on importation of 3 million tons of rice. 3 million tons of rice. Chukwemeka Odumegu Ojukwu University is rising varsity from East. Port reforms, 3.5 trillion naira bonded terminal investments at risk, operators warn. 4 LP reps, Ibori's daughter defects to APC. Opposition party threatens legal action over gale of defection. Tax reform bills, we didn't suspend deliberation. Senate, South-South senators back bills. Reforms will bring progress to Nigeria, NOA. Farotimi, Sowore plans protest against judiciary. Others, LP reps, Huriwa, NAS demand release.
And moving over to Daily Independent, tax reform bills still alive who can't be bullied, Senate declares. Says bills receiving consideration at various levels. Only the executive arm can withdraw tax reform bills. Warns against misrepresenting the upper chamber. Why we constituted 10-man committee to meet FG team. And this one reads, we are investigating airpiece over exploitative tickets pricing attributed to FCCPC. Criticisms of coastal road projects out of envy, says Omahi. Nigeria's private sector commits 4.6 billion naira to boost family planning. FG begins move to reset national addressing system. LP reps Kakos demands impartiality in Farotimi defamation case. And lastly, delay in convening NEC meeting may deepen PDP crisis. BOT warns, asks North Central to nominate Ayu's replacement.
Moving over to Nigeria News Direct. Bill not suspended, only president can withdraw it. Senate invites governors against bill to participate in public hearings. 14 LP moves to challenge defections, vows legal action against lawmakers. Ogun, 54,000 women benefit from 3 billion naira livelihood grants. Nomadic movement, insecurity hindering polio eradication in Nigeria.
Okay, moving over to the matrix. Tax reform bills. We will not be bullied, says Senate. Denies suspending deliberation on bills as South-South senators back bills. Don't politicize tax reform bills. TUC warns Nigerians. Those against bills politically motivated, says Abamoro. OPEC extends Nigeria's oil production quota of 1.5 MBPD to 2026. PDP rocked by fresh crisis. BOT bombs NWC over failure to convey NEC meeting. Tips North Central to produce next national chairman. How Borno deputy governor orders cheated death in mass airplane incident. 4 Labour Party, 1 PDP rep members defect to APC. How Dele Farotimi defamed me in recent book attributed to Afia Babalola. ECOWAS court orders Nigeria to pay 5 million to torture victims. Lastly,
moving over to First News. Free Dele Farotimi, protest set for December 10 nationwide. 10,000 dead in military custody. Amnesty International demands accountability. Report highlights extrajudicial killings, torture, sexual violence. 8,034 terrorists neutralized, 11,623 arrested, 6,376 rescued in 2024. DHQ. Lagos court sentences couple, the registrars charge over 52 million naira fraud. Senate stands firm, no suspension of tax reform bills. LP kicks as Ibori's daughter, 5 reps members from join APC. Reps urge fewer checkpoints on Onitsha Enugu Road over extortion. Lakurawa terror group linked to deadly explosion in Zamfara. South-South senators back tax reform bills.
Okay, the last one right here, New Telegraph. Tax reform bills. Controversy rages on as Senate says documents not withdrawn. Vows not to be intimidated. Berates Discos, Gencos, TCN over poor electricity delivery as Navy lawmakers, CSOs reject Nigerian Coast Guide. Recall, Tinubu moves to bring Poggio, Dunlop back to Nigeria. And this one reads, bill to prohibit gas flaring passes second reading in House of Reps. Japa Osun opts for retirees as doctors, nurses leave for overseas jobs. Max Air, Borno Deputy Governor, 100 others escape death. AFDB, Bank of Africa, signed €50 million risk-sharing pact to boost trade. Ibori's daughter dumps PDP for APC. LP loses 4 reps to ruling party. We will recover our mandates from defected lawmakers, attributed to LP. Bitcoin surges past $100,000 for the first time. Weak opposition threats to Nigeria's democracy exposes citizens to great harm, attributed to ADC. Problems of North caused by elites, attributed to ADO. PDP crisis. BOT condemns repeated shifting of neck meeting, says delay undermining confidence in the party. To meet with Wike, urges North Central to nominate Ayu's replacement. Decision timely, patriotic. And lastly, troops killed 8,034 terrorists, arrested 11,623 in 1 year, attributed to DHQ.
I mean, a lot of headlines. A lot of headlines here. But to discuss all these headlines, we've just been joined by Emmanuel Chume, who is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Thank you. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. How you doing?
Very cool, yeah.
I think the headlines I want us to start from First News. I think there are a lot of headlines on First News. And free Dele Farotimi. We already know what is happening to Dele Farotimi.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Barrister Chidi was around, and he didn't really want to talk much on it.
He's an attorney himself, so when he's presented to the courts, you have to wait, for the judge to declare and assess before you can now have a conversation around it. But just
luckily for us, Manechime is not an attorney, and so he can talk about it.
The issue of prejudice is always everybody's business. So the other way around, you have to observe, not to delve delve deep into matters in the court. Let it not be as if you are trying to
be the judge.
Be the judge. So, but the other way around, the loud outcry in every quarter, demanding that he should be released. I mean, it is just simple natural justice. Why would you go and arrest him in the first instance? The guy is not a criminal. He simply made some claims. If you think the claims are not founded, then why not you come clean and say these things are not founded? Then take him to court. That's just actually the right way to go about it, but not arresting him. Not arresting him and invading his office. Meanwhile, that's simply to tell you that it's not about defaming Afia Babalola. It's about speaking against the powers that be, and about speaking against the corrupt system that we have here. And of course, to prove that for real, we have a corrupt system. And of course, in quotes, corrupt justice system. And it's no longer a news. I mean, a system whereby we brought in from a U.S. court, brought in documents from Chicago University saying, this is the authentic document, and this is the authentic design of U.S. Chicago University, So have it. Nobody is telling you take decision on it is this one or the other, but they chose to say that the one that Atiku, who went to demand for the authentic certificate, the one that he brought, that is different from the one that Bola Ahmed Tinubu submitted. And finally, they now chose to go for the one Bola Ahmed Tinubu submitted. Whereas the one that the court and the school certified and said, this is our own, this is the authentic, they trust it by the side. So is that a just system? So for goodness sake, we are just in a kangaroo atmosphere this time around. Banana Republic. where one man will just decide whatever and everybody will just go down.
Have we got into Banana Republic?
No. You don't need to. I mean, a society where one person owns enormous money than the entire state, than the entire country. A society where one person is owning over 753 duplexes in Abuja. I mean, stolen from the state. And up to date, they do not want to give us the person's identity officially. So for goodness sake, I mean, are you not hearing that Yaya Bello had stolen over 110 billion naira from Kogi State? I mean, we are in a state where we are individuals who have succeeded in producing powerful individuals than producing strong institutions. Where you come to a police custody and a simple phone call from a powerful individual will simply release you from that particular place than following a due process to bring you out. Even when the court or when it has been proven that you are innocent, you did not do anything, they will tell you that you have to pay. Even when the law says that bail is free, but you must pay in the police custody. Even when you did not commit anything, you are just a motorist, driving by along the way, then you must pay the policemen that are standing along the road. And of course, that brings me to, begin to advocate that police in Nigeria should begin to remit revenues. The one they are generating is beyond what even our revenue generators officially are remitting. So for goodness sake, they should start remitting. Because those guys, just like the reps, part of the headline that said that reps are advocating that they should reduce the police checkpoints within Enugu, Anambra, and this. I was at Oka the other day, that was last week, and for goodness sake, it was a hell. From pole to pole, you will be at this checkpoint, you will be seeing the other one ahead of you. So for goodness sake, what is the strategy? What is the wisdom behind that?
There's something you said about, just caught my attention, right? You talk about police remitting taxes, right? Revenues to Nigeria. Ain't that going to employ them and attribute to corruption more? No. Institution?
No, because the other way around, they are not meant to be touching money at all. They are not meant to. But you see them collecting money from people. They don't even care whether you carry human head, while driving past their checkpoint. All they care for is that 200 naira, that 100 naira, that 500 naira that they collect from you, that 1,000 naira. They don't care about what you carry, whether you are hauling contraband, whether you are hauling explosive. They don't care. Carry it, it's your own business. But you know what? Give me that money. That's the only business they have with you. And it's only when you fail to give it immediately that they will now pack you by the side, and they want to see more incriminating stuff that will now make them to collect more from you. And in most occasions, whenever they see you and they see that you look, maybe your appearance looks somehow successful, perhaps you look somehow fresh, just like Oji is looking this morning. Then you discover that your car will be parked, or the vehicle where you are in will be parked, and you will be searched thoroughly, and they will demand that you should pay. They will find one or two to tie on your neck that you must pay. Reason, they want to question, why must you be very fresh in this kind of country? And you must be a Yahoo boy. They want to intimidate you, they want to believe that there must be something attached to you. Even if you are not with it, even if there is no incriminating object or whatsoever traces, attached to you, at that moment, there must be something behind camera, so you must pay.
So you're talking about this, should actually bring us to the same first news and talking about 10,000 dead in military custody, right? Amnesty International demands accountability. Report highlights extrajudicial killings, torture, sexual violence in our military. These are from Amnesty International.
Okay, I think maybe we may want to link it up to that of a monarch, a community leader from Delta State that rightly died in military custody as well. That was the voice there. So, and the other way around, we want to be asking, why would our military now become custodians of offenders? I think that if you are arrested, you take to police, let police carry out the investigation, do the prosecution.
Yeah.
So for goodness sake, military don't go to court. They don't prosecute. So for goodness sake, why do we, what type of country is this? Because the other way around, we're not a military regime. So why would you arrest and keep, custody the person? I thought it would be better if you arrest. If it's not Banana Republic, you arrest, You take the person to the police, hand over to the police, let the police now do the prosecution, continue the journey from there. That should amount to rules of engagement. I mean, everybody will have their own roles to play. But in this context, you know, when we are talking about Banana Republic, we talk about a country, a society where the rule of law isn't functional. A country where someone will have a law that guarantees, you know, freedom of speech. But the law do not guarantee freedom after speech. So for goodness sake, is there really freedom of speech? The answer is never, because when you want to speak, everybody will just be looking at you. Then after speaking, what now finally happened to you, just like Dele Faro to me today, then will not be another story to tell. So for goodness sake, military ought to cut down on their excesses. They ought to cut down on their excesses. If you see some videos being projected online, then you see where they will invade a village, where we have women and children living, just because you are looking for one criminal or the other, just because you are looking for maybe alleged criminals, and you begin to shoot sporadically, not aiming at any target. Sporadically, anybody that received the bullet, let the person take it. So for goodness sake, is that how professional we can be? We saw where a general the other day we are assaulting a couple on their way, reason that they wanted to overtake or that they overtook. For goodness sake, are you the owner of the road? What do you want to prove to the world? That they wanted to overtake. So if your own vehicle is running slowly and this person maybe is in a haste to maybe attend to a particular appointment or thereabout, then you said that the person should follow your convoy. And if that person remains behind you, somehow it becomes offense as well, that the person is a spy. Yeah. So, and the person then said, let me be on my way, let me find my way and go my way. Then it becomes an offense. You now unleash the anger and the wrath of your men on the couple. And
there are rules on the road, by the way. If you want to be that slow,
yes, you go to the right side.
Stay on the slow
if you want to overtake, you go to the left and overtake and go your way. So this person did not overtake you and block you.
Yeah. For
goodness sake. And they were even carrying a saloon car, whereas your own is Jeep. So how do we now equate these two together? Their speed capacities. So for goodness sake, that's why when we are talking about that, we are just running a banana republic. A banana republic where there won't be an appropriation and expenditures will be made. Where there is no evaluation of, you know, projected expenditure. And our president went out there to go and buy a new old private jet or presidential jet. Yes, new old presidential jet.
New old.
Yes, because that's a new old. Because meanwhile, this presidential jet that is 14 years old, but ours that we rejected is 19 years old. So what is the distance?
Yeah.
19 years old. But that of Biden of America is 34 years old. And they are still making use of the pilot one. 34 years. But ours, we that are not producing the money, that are borrowing the money, are living luxury. So for goodness sake, when we are saying Banana Republic, there are a lot of factors that made us, you know, to be running a Banana Republic affairs.
All right, still on First News. I mean, all the headlines of First News are a lot. So let's look at, on First News, 8,034 terrorists neutralized, 11,623 arrested, 6,376 rescued in 2024. Right here to DHQ. Do you think these numbers are made up? Do you believe these numbers? And if these numbers are real, are we really seeing the effects in society?
The truth is this, you know, these are reactions. These guys who we see as terrorists are reactions to issues in the society. All right, they are just mere reactions. Are we solving the problem? The answer is no. We're not solving the problem.
Like they told us about La Kurawa being contained, but
we are
as of yesterday, if we're on the news today,
no, it's no longer in
the
news.
Explosion in Zamfara is linked to them.
We are coming to that area now. Now, why I say that they are reactions, you know, when a society is actually being governed well, then you see that all these sets of sects will die down. It will reduce to barest minimum. But if not so, to recruit them will be so easy. Once you enter any locality in the north now and speak their language and tell them that the next thing now is to even behead their parents, they will do that. I have one of the videos I shared on one of my social media backends. And if you go there, it is still active there right now. If you go there, you will see where a guy, and if you see this guy, the guy looks so bright. But again, we are talking about what the Quran taught them. That the Quran told them that they should not drink alcoholic down here on earth. That it will make you to lose your mind. But if you reach heaven as a Muslim, then if you reach heaven, then you're going to see about 3 different liquids that you will drink. You say one of them is normal water that I will drink, then the other, and the last one is the liquor, the alcohol. He said that they will be drinking alcohol, a lot of alcohol in heaven. And when they will be drinking it, he said that they will be flying, that the Quran said that they will be flying like aeroplane. He said after flying like aeroplane, then they will now land. That the most beautiful side of it is that when you are landing, you will land on top of a woman. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying now. This is on, he was saying it on national television.
Like six of them.
You will land on top of it. Maybe it will be virgins as well. All right. So now, when you land on top of it, and this is what orientation being given to some persons, and these persons are running with it because the interviewer rightly asked him, "And you believed it?" And he said yes. So if you go to the north, sell any idea, no matter how rotten the idea is, plenty of them will buy it. I think so. Why not to begin to solve this from the background?
It's not the reason why they are somewhat against the Western civilization and education, because there's no right-thinking human who has, gone through some scrutiny in terms of education and knowledge, right? You would try to indict with this kind of information, and they will just absorb it.
And so you cannot see part of it. So when we are talking about, if we want to solve this problem, we begin to go to the background, cast them young, solve those problems by educating them, giving them the right education, equipping them, not just education, we equip them. We equip them better. We curb corruption. If not, once we continue to gather what belongs to the future of our society, one person will gather it and take it to his home. Just like you saw LP about 4 members, and that of PDP, 1 member, daughter of the former governor of Delta State. Yes. James Ibori, now defecting to APC, the same APC that have not been able to deliver anything meaningful to Nigerians that everybody are crying about. And these guys are going there. My 2 thoughts about it. 1, either that these guys are totally non-performing, and they do not know the next thing to do because 2027 is not guaranteed on their own part. Then they have now chosen to go into this because they know that it is all about grab it, snatch it, and run with it. Right? Then they have to choose to go to that particular part. Then they have seen that whatever they are being given at the national level or wherever they find themselves, in their portfolios, that they just swallow everything. Then to run away from the rot of the anti-graft, then they have to go to the APC. The other day, while he was the national chairman of the APC, that's Adam Shoshomela said, then he told us and said that once you join APC, your sins are forgiven. Yeah. So maybe these ones, they have seen that a couple of their own sins have been overfilled. And for them to be forgiven, they have to go and take refuge somewhere and in APC. And once you join there, then everything concerning you will just die down. Go and check that of Femi Fani-Kayode. Over 4 billion that he was being prosecuted for. Then immediately he pronounced that he had joined APC under erstwhile President Muhammadu Buhari. The case died down. The only day you will hear about that case again is if ever he will now denounce APC and say that he's going for another party or thereabout. Then you will now hear that EFCC is in his house. But for now, you will never hear it again. And that was why it was very difficult for us to go and arrest Yahya Bello for stealing over 110 billion naira. So for goodness sake, this is a country where if we must get it right, like they are giving us figures on how many that have been killed, over 8,034 persons have been killed. Now, I wouldn't know, maybe the sect, the Boko Haram sect or the terrorist wings in different places, maybe they did not have a clear chart on how many of our soldiers they have killed. If they are to be so meticulous about the numbers of our soldiers they have killed, if they release it, you will have mercy on Nigeria. Because the other way around, they ambush, they kill. They ambush, they kill. At a time, even our soldiers have to exit a particular community in Kebbi State. They have to exit the community, departed from them. Because of ambushment and killing, they will clear them off. So we are talking about how many our soldiers have killed. How many of our soldiers have been killed? Then as we are talking about that, we should be talking about the well-being of our soldiers as well. We are putting their lifeline. We are putting their lives on the line. So for goodness sake, even after going to fight these battles, at the end of the day, when they will finish and they will survive and they will retire, they will now be begging government to pay them their benefits that they worked for. Was it not yesterday? We saw retired soldiers at Ministry of Finance protesting, demanding for their retirement benefits, even after surviving near-death situations. So for goodness sake, when we are talking about running a banana republic, this is exactly the kind of a thing you see there, where laws are not working, where the system is just clamped down, and when the to me will write, then everybody will now say, go and catch him, put him in jail, these, that. They were so expeditious to arresting him. And they even have to cut away with people's phones in the office where they went and arrested him. They have to stow. Nigerian police have to rob the office that they went to arrest the referral to me from. So for goodness sake, is that ethical? Is that done anywhere in the world? Is that done anywhere in the world? Is that ethical? We have to arrest him, prosecute him the next day immediately and send him to jail the next day. I mean, defamation is not criminal offense. It is civil. Serve him court arraignment notice, then he will come to court, defend himself. If court now so choose to remand him, maybe as a result of the gravity of what he have committed or the weight of his words, then they should keep him behind bars and now decide on his case the next day. But at least he should have the right to defend himself. And whomsoever that feels like being accused or being defamed should have the right as well to come and explain how him or she is being defamed. So, but for goodness sake, this is a country where anything goes. Once the powers that be is against you, no, you are in trouble.
I think on a final note, because we're out of time, and we'll be able to touch, I think, very key headlines. But what do you think is going to be the future of the tax reform bills? Being that they're saying it's not been suspended, they're still amending it, nobody can shut it down except the presidency. We're seeing a lot of headlines around it. Senate saying they're not bound to pressure, and you know, all of that.
And just as if that it's just down south that is supporting this bill. Up north are all against it. And you actually was making sense when you're talking about how the priest or whatnot was talking about how you have to go to heaven, you fly, you take this liquor, you land on top of, and all that. Do all these things spell disaster up north, knowing that the monies that are meant to be coming are going to drop drastically, right? And there are a lot of people there, and they all depend on what comes from the coffers of the center. But now it's all about every state for themselves working hard to make more for themselves. Then you can gain more.
Okay, what happened is that the North is actually crying foul as a result of certain factors here. Part of the factors is that the North has been, used to be known for the agricultural prowess and a lot of things, they produce from the North. And the North is actually crying foul, citing the records of the past. They said that prior to now, that they were the ones who were actually sustaining Lagos. That it was the Granite Pyramid in the North. They were being, the proceeds of the Granite Pyramid in the North, they were being used to develop Lagos. I don't know if you're getting it now. So, but now that they are talking about, sharing formula and new tax reform, which is about now the amount of remittances you bring to the center will determine what you take home. Right? But they now see that they are disadvantaged a bit. Now, the North is not that so good at paying taxes. Then the North, how many businesses are up there in the North thriving? Then currently, Boko Haram, different terrorist groups are up there in the North, festering around everywhere in the North. So going to the farm to go and farm now and bring that Granite Pyramid that like it used to be is no longer there. So they have seen it that their power, their economic power has been withered. So how do they now compete with every other pages, other pages of the regions? So it now become an issue. But I forgot that even before the colonial masters, because they rightly cited that it was when the colonial masters came, they used the proceeds of Granite Pyramid in the north, to develop Lagos. But they forgot that prior to colonial masters, the Lagos on its own, even before Nigeria became Nigeria, before the amalgamation, the Lagos on its own, we are running, and including the British had come to Lagos as at then, doing their businesses and developing Lagos, because of the potentials up there in Lagos. So they have been doing that prior to amalgamation of Nigeria.
Even for the British or the Portuguese.
No, a lot of those guys were there doing their businesses, all right. And so, but these guys, they now raise that claim that it is the process of their pyramid up there in the north. So, what they are fighting about now is sharing formula, and they believe that if this is allowed to stand, that it's going to shortchange them. Then, but the other way around, what we wish to tell the Senate and the National Assembly, of course, is if you are saying that nobody can pressure you down, nobody can tell you what to listen to, that it must be the powers of the executive. For goodness sake, you guys are the voices of the people, and the people speaking to the executive will speak through you guys. So, but it becomes worrisome when you guys now detach yourselves from the people that employed you. And you now say that you are now dancing to the tune of the man at the top. I mean, the man that holds the knife and the yam. Because you don't want him to cut your own chamfer. You want him to be giving you the big portions that he keeps giving you. That is only giving you a protruded stomach. So for goodness sake, the voice of the people you represent and the voice of the people, the mind of the people, you must go by, you must speak about. Otherwise, the people who have the power to put you in there still have the power to detach you from there.
And I think we'll call it a day on that. Thank you very much, Mother Chinwe, for joining us this morning. Thank you so much. Guys. We'll go on a very quick break. When we return, we'll take the trips around the region. Welcome back to the program. You're still watching the Afia Morning Show, and it is time for us to take quick trips around the region, and we are going to begin in Imo State. Yes, Christmas is just around the corner, and many people are looking forward to the festive season. But how are prices shaping up for essential commodities, and how do buyers and sellers in Imo State feel as we approach the holidays? Our correspondent in Owerri, Miriam Uyegbule, brings us all the details.
It's beginning to look like Christmas with the usual hustle and bustle on the streets. Prices of essential commodities like food, clothes, beauty products, and lots more are gradually inflating. Rice is a common food consumed by lots of Nigerian households, especially at festive seasons. One would wonder if the inflation in the price of commodities is due to high demand caused by the festive season. Okechukwu, who sells rice and other foodstuff at the popular cluster market in Owerri, says he now sells his bags of rice and tuber of yams at increased rates, but he claims it has nothing to do with the festive season.
Some time ago, about 2 or 3 months ago, this weekend we buy it, one bag of it, because we sell for the frozen food and other food items like rice, beans, you see yam. Okay, let me start with this yam now. Like this yam now, like last year, if you see this size of this yam now, like last year now, we can sell it something like 1,500, 1,200, but now it's 2,500, 3,000. Then it goes on the cost of the vehicle. Last year we would before unload one vehicle. we pay something like 900,000, 1 million. But this year we're paying 1.9 million. Okay, like rice now. Formerly we do sell rice 250, 300, 350. But now we're selling 1 cup 500 naira. Depending on how we buy it. One bag of it is 95,000, 98,000. The best rice now is this rice, this gelato and our bell. We sell it 99,000 and 100,000 for one bag. And you can see that it's too much. And when you sell it from 1 cup, 2 cup, 3 cup, you can make up to 5,000 or 6,000 naira. And if you didn't sell it 500, you cannot make your money. So I believe that this problem now is from the people that are buying wholesale. You understand? When they go there and buy wholesale, they come, the way they say to us, the way we are going to sell. You see, if they say no price to us, we also say no price to the consumers.
Chicken is also largely consumed by people this season. The price of this has also gone up due to the price of poultry feed.
Just because the day-old price now increased. Then another thing is the cost of their feed also increased. So that is why the cost of matured one is high now. So not because of festive period. But I will say that because of the festive, because in this festive period, the demand is high because of Christmas. So that is why the price is high. The chicken doesn't have a fixed price. It depends the amount you buy it from the farmer. Maybe you add your own like 500 naira to make your own gain. Like this one now, I bought this chicken 9,000 and I'm selling 9,500. My profit there is 500 naira. So
Falakemi, who sells tomatoes at the same market, reveals that the price of the food produce has skyrocketed due to costs incurred from transporting it to the east.
All I know is that it's not because of the festive season. It's due to maybe transportation, the costly price of fuel. So we have been buying it costly since more than 1 month now. So this time around, this is the time tomatoes supposed to be much, that it will even be cheaper. But now it's cost.
The prices of clothes, bags, shoes, and hair products are also soaring. Notably, because these goods are essential needs, their high prices have not deterred people from buying them. The demand for these commodities have increased instead.
We still buy. We just manage ourselves. Go high quantity, now more later than before.
Evidently, the major reason for the high cost of essential commodities is the high cost of fuel. As Christmas draws closer, there are speculations that the prices of these items may increase further. In Owerri, Miriam Onyubule for Afia TV.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for that report. Hopefully things get better and we see some changes. We see, a Christmas spirit in the air. We see some, jolly season in the air, especially
like this period. Everybody is just
everything is crazy.
Faced down. Nobody's looking up like, well, it's the economy, and we just hope that everything falls in place.
Take your renewed capsules of renewed hope. Let's hope that things look up for festive season. How many years to Christmas now? 19 days. Let's hope things look up. Let's move to Abia State as the Aba International Trade Fair surges on. Both the organizers and the vendors have been making positive remarks about the fair. Our correspondent in Aba, Chibike Magomba, captures some of these moments and now reports.
The Aba International Trade Fair, which began on the 28th of November, is on its 9th day, with just a day to wrap. How has the business journey in Abia's commercial city been so far for both the organizers and the vendors? Here are their responses to Afia TV.
It's amazing the kind of people clients that come to the fair. And I think it's a good one. It's a good one that this is happening in our first time. So we're hopeful to experience this more than this another one. So I don't think.
So far, I can say that the fair is good. Security-wise, here is very peaceful and calm. No confrontation from anybody. And the sales are going on well. It's going on well. So I think generally the fair is good.
However, they admitted that their sales goals remain unmet. Despite this, vendors remain optimistic.
To be honest, I've not been able to hit my target, but I'm not losing hope on that. You know why? Because we still have extra 4 days to go. So I think before then.
Mr. Nwojo, a vendor, shared suggestions to improve the fair in subsequent editions.
We should have people from Lagos, we have people from Abuja, we have people from Kaduna State, we have people from nearby cities to come to Aba trade fair to get something they need. You know, Aba is a business hub, so this trade fair should make a hell of noise.
Chief Waka Inem, chairman of the organizing committee for the fair, responds.
Like I said, this is a new concept that most people are ready to come to terms with the responsibility assigned to both the exhibitor and the organizer. Speaking from global experience, if a company enlists to exhibit in a particular fair, it's incumbent on them to equally send out information to their customers. Like say, if I'm invited, like companies inviting me to participate in what they call the building trade fair in Spain, Consumat or Sevisema, most companies will write to their customers and to the public, please meet us at the fair at good so. Offer things to the public that at the fair, I understand you'll be able to buy our product at factory prices. So that aspect that most of them vendors didn't play that role. Maybe they didn't understand it. That it is not only the organizers that have the responsibility to promote and advertise. Those coming to participate have the responsibility to promote and advertise their product. Meet us at the fair. Usually there is promotional prices at the fair. It is those announcements by the companies themselves that draws the crowd more than the what the organizers are doing. So it is a collective oversight that resulted in whatever you see. So like I say, going forward, we will now educate people buying forms to exhibit that they equally have a role to play in attracting people to their booth. There is no company that sells a product for say 1,000, and these are the market prices. They know what they sell to distributors. During the fair, if the public knows that we are going to get at this, public will rush to come and buy. Who doesn't want to buy things?
He emphasized the significance of the event while noting the attention it has received from the international community.
When there is the will, there is the strength to do it. If we have seen the international attention this fair has given to the state, the government will not shy away from continuing it and consolidating on the gains. If we didn't see any gain in this trade fair, then we will now say, I haven't survived or we won't try it again. But there's a lot of gains and mileage that he has given to the economic atmosphere in Abia State. One, we've been able to tell the world that Abia is safe for business, security-wise, and there's no disruption and all those things. So we want to continue that message and consolidate with that message.
The president, Aba Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, also commented on the fair's broader implications.
It just standing from where we are now, you can see some a lot of artisans. Let me just use that word. You see some selling akara, selling pomo. You see vulcanizers. You see all manner of things. Those selling hair, whatever you call them, and then the big shots. So the implication is the multiplier effect cannot even be quantified. Visitors that came from outside, they slept in hotels, repaired their phones, went into area, went to Ahia home and other to buy things that they will take outside and maybe beyond Nigeria.
The fair has been widely recognized as a step in the right direction for local economic development. Organizers and vendors alike are optimistic about future editions and committed to making improvements to ensure its continued success. In Aba, Chibike Magomba reporting for Afia TV.
were enforcement officers from the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control and not Lagos state officials. Despite the government's clarification, the price hike has already affected many residents, especially those who rely on sachet water for their daily hydration needs. Some residents have taken to social media to voice their concerns, calling on the government to address the issues and ensure that the sachet water remains affordable for the common citizen.
Wait I get to talk for pure water something now. Everybody know the time we pure water day, they even buy 10 naira, but now everything don't cost for Nigeria. One pure water now 15 naira. Where would they go for this Nigeria? Oh no. Make una no ban pure water because that pure water now they help us. At least now me say if I hold 10 naira now, so run go buy pure water. But now if I no give 15 naira, I no feel buy pure water. One pure water. Make una no try am. Everything we get to tell. So I tell government, I tell Enugu, make una no stop pure water. If una stop pure water, poor masses then they go suffer well because that thing they help us.
That banning pure water with him, what go do? And I want ban pure water. No, can't they suffer? I'm not try am because we don't get money for bottled water. Because people even they put this themselves, say maybe they drink pure water, then they enjoy life. At least they still get some kind, they get their ways to drink their own water in their own way. But we will say we try us make we feel sustain. I can't they tell us say on our own ban pure water. But what we do? We don't even try and save.
Kí la fẹ́ ṣe, but tó bá bàjẹ́ báwo la ṣe fẹ́ mú mi. Eléyìí láti fi ń gbéra dúró. Gbogbo nǹkan ti dojúrú tán ẹjọ́ nítorí Ọlọ́run ẹ ràn wá lọ́wọ́ torí kò sówó kò sí nǹkan kan. Àwọn aláìní bàbá aláìní ìyá ló pọ̀ jù. Ọmọ tí ò ní ìyá tí ò ní bàbá tó dẹ̀ manage. Ìmí àgbé bí ọ̀tá kiri kó tó lọ sí school kó tó dé kó tó wá jẹun. Ìyá yẹ wà lè yẹ òun yóò sì rí nǹkan kan ṣe. Bàtà bá sọ pé tí fẹ́ báǹdé léyìí sí báwo ni Nàìjíríà ṣe fẹ́ ṣé Nàìjíríà túnṣe àbó bàjẹ́ sí ni. Tí ó ń bàjẹ́ sí ni ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ ràn wá lọ́wọ́ ẹ má báǹdì pure water o. Ẹ má báǹdì pure water nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ pé kàn ṣe ni kàn ṣe ẹ má báǹdì ẹjọ́ nítorí Ọlọ́run.
Talking about this matter of the pure water getting banned in Lagos State. no fee makes sense. No fee makes sense. Because due to the cost of living here in Nigeria, we can't afford to be buying bottled water. You understand? Everything is hard. Both for everybody, both from people from our society, everything. So we can't afford to just stop drinking water. We can't afford the bottled water. Yeah, that is it. Cost of everything. The government should just work on all this thing. But they can't ban the pure water.
Recall that the Association of Table Water Producers, ATWAP, had sometime in April this year attributed the price increase to the rising cost of production. The association appealed with the federal government for financial support to help them mitigate the impact on consumers. However, sachet water has been a significant contributor to the drainage blockage across various water channels in the state. This might not be unconnected to the parallel flooding that parts of the state experience every rainy season. These environmental concerns add another layer to the ongoing debate about the regulation and management of sachet water in Lagos State. As the debate continues, Lagos residents remain hopeful that a solution will be found to keep sachet water affordable and accessible for all. In Lagos State, Kingsley Emeka reporting for Afia TV.
Thank you very much, Emeka, for that report. And hopefully, we don't get to experience this in the southeast. We don't get to experience this
at all.
We did
sometime last year.
It was not up to it. It was a general scarcity.
Yeah.
It was a general scarcity.
Even the bottled water.
But it was not. There was not a ban on sachet water.
Yeah.
How do you ban sachet water? How do people some things? Even, again, maybe, I don't know whether it's because of the outlook. Maybe you're trying to, reduce waste or whatever the outlook would look like on a city like Lagos. But as much as Lagos is a very big city, it's also a very poor city.
Yes.
There are a lot of people who are really poor that live in Lagos. There are a lot of slums in Lagos. So it would be quite unfair if you ban sachet water. That's a state that does not really have clean water.
Yes.
Even in the major city, central of the state, does not have clean water. So what is going to happen to the people there? Enugu doesn't have water. Imagine we now ban sachet water in Enugu too. No. Well, I hope that the right authorities look into it. Even though NAFDAC came out and some other agencies, because they were destroying sachet waters and all of that in trucks, and the government agencies came out and said they are not in charge of it. They denied involvement, which is also more concerning, because if you deny involvement on that, then who are the people that are allowed to go around
punching those bags?
No. We keep seeing a lot of things that are not supposed to be so.
By the way, sorry.
But let's come back. We need to wake up.
Yeah.
We need to wake up. But let's come back to the Southeast. Let's come back to the conversations, and we are going to be having a conversation right now on developing an inclusive approach towards transforming Alibo, Akop BJ. And we've just been joined by Agbalanze Chike Madueke, NPOM, who is the president, Aka Ikenga. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
All right. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Okay. Let us start with you explaining what Akop BJ is. What does that mean?
Okay, great. Thanks for having me, though.
Welcome, sir.
Firstly, it's a very difficult explanation because Akko in itself is not an everyday Igbo language that you use. But I can explain Akko as a high-level intelligence. For instance, in Igbo, when you say somebody Mweruche, that means he's intelligent. But Akko is more like the sixth sense, or what you call maybe an IQ plus EQ, that is intelligent quotient plus emotional intelligence. Yeah. So Akko is the high level of intelligence, and it can simply be said to be wisdom.
That cannot actually be attributed to what Solomon is.
Perfect, yes. Solomon is a wise man, but he particularly may not have that sixth sense. And that was why he went ahead to marry 1,000 wives.
I was waiting for you to get
700 wives, 300 concubines. 700 wives, 300 concubines. But how does this align with our values as Indigo?
Yeah, Akko BJ is naturally, what words of wisdom they say to you. In Igbo land, Ije means journey. It also means travel. It also means adventure. Now, when you're going to a journey, or when you're having a travel or adventure, people wish you well when they say Ijoma. But when they say Akobije, it's for you to know that to get to that destination, you need more than just sense. You need an extra sixth sense. And what it means is that the essence is to get to that destination, making sure that you apply all your senses in such a way that you get the result. That is what Akobije is.
Okay. So now let's talk about developing an inclusive approach towards transforming Igbo. What does that mean? Well, sometimes it feels like we throw words or we throw grammar here and there. What does it really mean to have an inclusive approach towards our development?
Great. I guess Center for Memories put this together, and especially because it's an overarching theme from their relationship with Ford Foundation. And Ford Foundation is hoping that whenever there's a plan, whatever a project, whatever there is that's going to transform an Igbo, that it's all inclusive. That is to say, people with disabilities, men, women, children, boys, girls, that nobody's left out. Communities, organizations, that nobody's left out, that is all inclusive, that any design, any plan, any projection or project should be all inclusive, such that nobody is excluded.
Well, talking about sectors, which needs more transformation at this point in time in Igbo, including all parastatals and sectors, aligning it with Ako, Wije?
If I get your question right, I would like to say that in aligning with Ako and achieving the Ije.
Ije, yes. In transforming the most important sector at this point in time and needs transformation in Ala Igbo.
I think it's peace and security. That is the first thing that's required or needed in an Igbo in order to give it get the environment that can transform an Igbo to its destination. We need peace and security.
And at this point in time, that should be the conversation, literally, right? And are we getting there? Are we even making enough conversation around this peace and security? Because this would propel this region, Ala Igbo, at this point in time.
Yes, I agree with you that we are not making that conversation enough, because it should be central. It should be central. And then why we are not making those conversations enough is what I cannot particularly say. But I do think that, yes, you're right, it should be the central theme for whatever we are discussing, because it is key. And if you look around Nigeria too, we are not particularly worse for it. We are not particularly worse for it. But it's important because of the kind of people we are. There were business people, progressive people, futuristic people, people who look ahead, people who go into ventures. We need peace and security, much more than anything.
All right, so let's talk about, we've said that peace and security, which I completely agree with, because we've been seeing a lot of insecurity in the southeast of late. There is heavy militarized presence, checkpoint to checkpoint to checkpoint. It's just become very different from what it used to be. But what are the other key sectors that you think we should also pay attention to, like education? Because, the way that education, I think, has been, we've not had it consistent for the past couple of years. But what do you think?
No, firstly, apart from peace and security, you need good governance.
Okay.
When you have good governance, then that allows every other thing to sprout and to prosper. When you have good governance, there will be provisioning for good education. For instance, what is happening in Enugu State now, this concept of smart schools and 260 units of them. You know, that's what good governance does. And we expect, when we talk about Anibo, we're expecting that every other state in Anibo, including Anioma and some parts of River State, are putting that into concept and perspective in such a way that, yes, education is most important. Yes, education needs to be taken seriously, and then people need to innovate in education, especially now. I use the word innovate because there has to be changes in education, much more than what we have.
Okay, I always say this because I don't know, I always go back to an interview I was watching Senator Abaribe. You know, he was having conversation about Alibo, the East. The conversation was, since they don't want us in the center as presidents and whatnot, it's time our people, you know, start looking inwards and developing the economic southeast and make it a boom, right? So do you align with these thoughts, and why are we not literally, you know, having that conversation, which he said and made sense to me, that it's time we look inwards, start, you know, seeing things happen right here in the southeast part of Nigeria, developing things, education, infrastructure, and thanks to Abia State Governor, even Enugu State Governor, at least they are doing their bit. So if other state governors to join suit, by after this first tenure or second, economically, the East will have that boom we've been anticipating. And, you know, getting revenues and IGR is very important, right? And these are the steps, the baby steps you need to take. First of all, you're talking about peace and security, and we're talking about education, right? Do you align with our thoughts, and how can we start having a conversation already on these, you know, clauses or pointers made by Senator Abaribe in that interview?
I may not have watched that interview, but in my, I can sense what Abaribe will say, and then that's actually also the theme of this discussion.
Yeah.
Now, Akobije means Ndibo. You should have senses. Lagos is chasing you. Ndibo, you should have senses. Do you understand that? And then it means that Ndibo, it's time to go home and develop your place. That is what Ako means. Ndibo, use your senses. That when you have one factory in Lagos, you should have another one in Oka. When you have one factory, when you build one house in Abuja, you should build two in Enugu. That's the whole concept of Ndibo. When Uche, Ndibo, when Ako, and come back and develop your place. You know, when you now talk about it in Igbo land, the Igbos will say, na okoburu nanti chilia. That is to say, grasshopper that has been carried by a big noise-making bird is deaf. And they've said it many times. If you have a business in Lagos, bring a part of it home. Many things. One, also Chubagi, you know where to get to. And when you get back, you have something to do. Two, people here will get employment as well, and there won't be any aggression into other places other than Igbo. And there will be activities here. This is your home, and you have the capacity to do it. Igbo are probably the only people I know in the whole world that will have a house wherever they are living, in Lagos, have another one in their state capital, in Enugu, for instance, have another one in Abuja if they go to Abuja all the time, and have another one in their village. He goes to the village 5 days in a year.
Yeah.
But he's comfortable with that because he's a Igbo. But we're saying, look, let's apply some senses, these gentlemen and ladies. Let's transform or transfer some of those assets in such a way that they will be useful to the development of an Igbo. That's actually what this discussion is all about.
What are some of the challenges in development of Igbo? Do you think it's a knowledge barrier? Do you think it's a interest? Do you think that people are not just interested in it? What are some of the challenges in developing Igbo?
Well, I can tell you particularly because, I live in Lagos, but I have investments in the East. First of all is interest. So if you have the interest, you won't see the challenges. If you have the interest, you can conquer the challenges. Because wherever you are, there are also challenges. People who do business in Lagos meet most challenges. People who do business in any other place in Nigeria also meet challenges. So whatever anybody says is a challenge, he should conquer that challenge, because coming to investing in the first place is trying to conquer challenge. That's my thinking.
Okay. How can we strike a balance between preserving our culture, our tradition, and also accepting modernization, accepting civilization as well? How do you think we can strike a healthy balance? Our cultures are being passed down from generation. Our culture is being passed down from generation. At the same time, we are also, being very accepting of, innovation, technology, and all of that.
Well, now, when you talk about culture and technology, well, each of them should stand on its own. Culture is culture, and that means when we say culture, if we want to get married, we'll probably go and Kwaka Oria. That's our culture. And then after Ikwaka, we go Mego. And after Mego, what do we do again? About wine. And then you're married. That's our culture. It won't be taken away from us, okay? But when you have technology, the likes that you have a phone, you can talk to anybody wherever you are, or you can call him via visual, or that's technology. We must embrace technology and be part of technology, especially now. And that is where I think we should be going. This is the age of technology, Internet of Things, the fourth industrial revolution. We should be going towards that. Before, when you used to have farmlands, somebody who has farmland had money, or he's a big person, or he's respected in society because he has people who are plowing the lands and bringing harvest and results. Then he went to the Industrial Revolution, people who have factories all over the place, make money, and then have people employed. But now it's gone to technology, data. Is anybody who has data now is wealthy? So that's where we should be going. That's where we should be going.
I agree.
You can go ahead. Fine.
I wanted to ask how Igbos in diaspora, because I feel like that's a very...
Yes, I'll just get into that. So let's
I feel like that's a very big conversation now. Yeah. Igbos in diaspora, them coming back, them investing, what are they doing, what are they saying, how are they contributing to the economic movement, economic growth, and all of that, what are they doing, even preserving culture, because I also think it's linked to what I am just asked, even preserving culture, because, you're abroad, they have their way of life there, they have their own culture, their own society there, what they do there, but, you find yourself there is a community of Igbos where you live. How do they preserve their culture, even in another man's land? Because anywhere you go to and you don't find an Igbo man, you should be afraid, So how do we do that? How do the Igbos in diaspora, how can they, still be a part of what we do here and still be maintain authenticity what they do abroad?
Well, I can tell you that Igbos in diaspora are trying their best, even in the midst of contesting cultures. And that's why they still meet the way Igbos meet anywhere, Sundays or once in a month. And that's why they do their Iriji, because they want to also remember where they come from. And that's why also, if any of them dies, they make sure they bring the person home. That's Igbo culture, that. Maybe we are the only people, or maybe apart from the Jews, we are the only people who do that. And that's the culture they preserve. Wherever there's any fallen hero, as you call it, they make sure they aggregate, plan, make all the arrangements and send the body home. It's a typical thing about the Igbo. So that's a culture which they, as a matter of fact, try to preserve out there, apart from their monthly meetings. But when you now talk about how can they participate here, from records, it's shown that remittances from people in diaspora, especially in the Southeast, is a lot higher than a whole lot of places. People send money home, but mostly it's for subsistence of relations and friends and relatives and parents. But what you are saying now is how can they come in now and make such a remittance productive? Yes, Akikenga is working in such aspect because we are trying to set up what we call a heritage center where every Igbo person can have a nexus, come in, looking and know what can be done in Nigeria, especially in Igbo, both in their own communities or communities outside theirs. But they invest in such a way that whatever their investment is, it's not just going to be for consumption. It's going to be an investment that's productive and then also can create jobs and be useful to the region.
Okay, technology. Let's talk about technology because apparently tech is the new oil. Definitely right. So, but I'll come from this perspective of when you go to Asian countries, right? How, okay, now I'm going to align this in preserving our culture and our language and all that, right? When you go to some of these countries, what they teach their words with the local mother tongue, the language, the first language that they know, right? And you can see these kids of maybe 12, 11, 10, 16, making some high-tech gadgets. Why? Because apparently they were taught by the language they understand fully, they can comprehend fully. Have you ever thought of having that concept down here in Alibo, where they inculcate our local languages, our mother tongue, using in teaching our children physics, chemistry, right? In advancing and making them tech savvy. Have you ever had that thought that it could somehow propel development? And already Enugu, when you talk about Enugu, when you talk about Imo, when you talk about tech, you know, our young lads and lads are up there doing big things already. But having holistically this concept, wouldn't it garner or have that boom in the technology sector when it comes to development of Alibo? Because it's very important.
I see your point, but I think the mistake has been made, and then we've gone a different direction. In our own time, you don't speak Igbo. You're in school, it's called vernacular. And if you spoke Igbo, you're punished.
You're punished, yeah.
So it's difficult to say we go back to that to get to start teaching physics and maths.
And plus,
with that, because because who's going to do the teaching? Who's going to do the teaching?
That's a deep question.
Yeah, so because even the people who are meant to do the teaching were not taught in that same way. So that's a big problem. But I also expect, and I align with you, that there should be the use of tech even to teach the Igbo language. There should be apps that you talk to and they talk to you back in Igbo language. There should be apps that you can talk to, it will tell you what the meaning is. Those are the things I think we should start developing now in such a way that, yes, young people or people who are growing will start inculcating the use of the language in such a way that going forward, yes, they can use that to do whatever they want to do in terms of technology and development.
Okay. I mean, this is still a conversation to continue to have and, you know, 4 p.m. today at Center for Memories, they're going to still have this conversation again.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, sir. We're out of time now on the morning show. Thank you very much, sir. This is Agwalanze Chike Madueke, MPOM, President Aki Kenga, and we had a conversation on developing an inclusive approach towards transforming Aligbo. We'll go on a very quick break. When we return, more on the morning show.
From the commercial nerve center of the southeastern Nigeria, the Abia State Government and Aba Chamber of Commerce, Industries, Mines and Agriculture, ASIMA, invite manufacturers, investors, trade unions, captains of industries, and the general public to the 2024 Aba International Trade Fair Summit and Exhibition. Take advantage of these opportunities to showcase your business to the rest of the world. Improve your sales and brand visibility. Date 28 November to 7th December 2024. Venue Aba Mega Mall along Aba Umaya Expressway, Osisioma, Abia State. This message is endorsed by the Abia State Government and Aba Chamber of Commerce, Industries, Mines and Agriculture, ASIMA. For partnership, sponsorship and participation enquiries, visit www.abainternationaltradefair.com. On Facebook at Aba International Trade Fair, on X Aba International Trade Fair, or call Marcus on 0806 605 4420 or Sam on 0802 826 9391. Aba International Trade Fair. Be a part of it.
But why won't I be happy? Not just because it's festive season. It's moments of friendship and 60 million reasons to love. Small pepper.
Babes, this dress is given.
Don't forget the earrings. Those are 2 reasons already.
The best reasons will make your heart beat faster. Come on! And make every laugh worth it. It's all about holding hands, sharing and enjoying happy times together.
Have more reasons to be happy with Naija dramas, football, and more smiles on DSTV this festive season. DSTV, your home of entertainment.
Welcome back to the program. You're still watching the Afia Morning Show. Today is Friday, which means it's our health and lifestyle series. So yes, we've brought a regular, at this point. Yes, a regular at this point, Dr. Jidofo Chineye Nenna, Senior Registrar, Pediatrics Department, University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, Itukozala. And we're going to be having a conversation on breastfeeding, like I said earlier, debunking the myths, exploring the realities. So a couple of days ago on social media, X especially, a wise man tweeted and said, oh, that, you know, breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding is such a cost-effective way to go. You don't know how much you're going to save on formula, and it just caused a lot of reactions on social media. People were saying things like, even though, yes, you might not spend money on baby formula, the amount of money that you spend on feeding the mother, because obviously your appetite is going to increase because you know you're going to be feeding for 2. You know, other mothers were talking about how much of a sacrifice it is, how they smelt a certain type of way, you know, just because of the baby and all of that. They were only smelling like breast milk, how uncomfortable it is to be breastfeeding in public, not being able to go out for events because of you don't want to be able to just breastfeed there and all of that. You know, there are a lot of reactions to it. A lot of people that were just really against, not against it per se, but just saying, you know, their realities. Some mothers work, and you know, you cannot do 6 months because you have to work. I'll use a personal experience. One of my friends, when she gave birth, you know, she was still in school at the time. We were still in school at the time, or she was still in school at the time. I think she was in her final year when she gave birth, and so she could not afford to do exclusive breastfeeding because she still had to go to class, she still had to write exams and all of that. So the reality of it is that these women also have like their own lives to do and all of that. But you know, I'm not the medical doctor, so I think this is enough introduction. Good morning, Ma. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me. So, you know, the issues or the discussion surrounding breastfeeding is something that is quite emotional, and then it also has to do with the cultural perspectives as well. Previously, not even previously, we know that for every child that is born, we have to feed the child. The human right, the Child Act's right of 2003 say that every child has a right to be fed. So this child has to get feeding. And actually speaking, breast milk is is a safe feeding option for children. So if we're going to be talking about, okay, the challenges that mothers have and, you know, how they traverse these challenges, yes, challenges are quite much. But just like you said, they're actually myths and also realities to this breastfeeding.
Okay. So now let's talk about some of the myths. Now, one of the myths I heard, because when you're on social media and you start exploring all these topics, you just you start saying things. Somebody said that breastfed babies, babies that were not breastfed, you know, it shows, you know, they are not as successful, they're not as brilliant, they're not as sound as babies that were breastfed. So, you know, there's a clear difference between a breastfed baby, exclusively breastfed baby, and a baby that was not exclusively breastfed. Is it true? Because they've turned it to insult now. I know they're not breastfeeding, this is the way you're talking.
I think it has to surround emotional stability and bonding, because definitely when you are breastfeeding, when a mother is breastfeeding the child, one of the things is that there is skin-to-skin contacts, and this skin-to-skin contact tends to release what we call the oxytocin, which is the cuddle hormone. Yes, so it improves that bonding. So when they say, oh, this person was not breastfed, this person was not breastfed, I feel like it's a way of making a gesture about a particular thing. But let's even try to understand how breast milk comes about, and, you know, the practices of breastfeeding. Remember that for every woman, you know, when we talk about the breast itself, breast is mainly the adipose tissue, which is fat cells. But in that breast, you have the mammary glands. That's where the breast milk is being formed. So during pregnancy, you know, hormones help to build up the milk production, such that with the removal of the placenta and then delivery of the child, there is what we call, and then suckling. Because if you see, there are some parents, there are some mothers that give birth, and they are not able to initiate breast feeding until about 3 or 4 days, even some extend to 5 days after delivery. So there has to be a stimulus, which is suckling. So the child has to suckle on the breast before there is a milk let down. That's why in most hospitals, there is what we call the healthcare-friendly initiatives, where we encourage or where we advocate that every child that was delivered via vaginal delivery should be started on the breast milk. So the child should be put to breast 30 minutes after delivery and then an hour after cesarean section. All these things are things that will help improve milk letdown and then breastfeeding for the child. Now, one of the myths that I have also heard myself is that if you have a small breast, you cannot produce sufficient amounts of milk, while if you have maybe a kind of a bigger boobs, your milk production is much more increased. But that's not true. It's not, the size of the breast doesn't affect what the milk production is. Now, when you talk about, yes, breastfeeding in public, that's a very controversial issue. Like, it's very controversial. Now, in most regions, especially in most regions per se, there is no law that prohibits breastfeeding in the public. But because of some peculiarities with regions like, for example, the United Arab Emirates, where they are thinking about decency, okay? Because of, I think, what we've done is that the society have over-sexualized a female body, okay? Yes, because of that decency, they frown out women breastfeeding in public. But in Nigeria, I will tell you that there is no law. So, yes, there is no law. In fact, in one of the Labor Acts law, they said that a woman that is breastfeeding, should be given at least a maximum of 30 minutes, 2 times every day in 24 hours, to go and breastfeed their child once they come back to work. But most of these things is that there are laws and then there are lack of implementation.
Well, there are laws and there are lack of implementation.
Yes, there are lack of implementation. Yeah, even in most workplaces, how many workplaces have should I say, a leave pattern for their female workers, their female employees, such that when they are after birth, you see mothers as early as 1 month after giving birth, they are coming back to work because they will be sacked, they will be let off work if they don't resume after like a month or 2 months.
So if you're advocating, like
yes.
How long is meant to be the stretch for maybe a break when you've given birth and all that?
Yes, we still advocate within that 6 months. In fact, the federal government right now, for maternity leave, I'm sure you know that they have extended the maternity leave as of, I think it's last year. Yes, it started last year. Previously, it was just like 3 months for the maternity leave. But currently now, they've extended it to 30 working days in addition with the annual leave the person have for that year. So you see that the woman gets about just a period of 6 months before he or she comes back to work. But this is applied to the federal sector. Most private sectors don't really have such provision. And even when the person comes back to work, you are still expected to give this person some time within the day so that the person can go breastfeed and then come back and start doing her work.
Okay, talking about bonding, right, as a myth. Bonding, the mother and the baby, when you, as you said too, they are close to their skins and they feel themselves and, you know, that connection, right? So now, what if the mother is not exclusively breastfeeding the baby and maybe something happened or that? Does it matter? Does it matter if the bonding, as you said, of breastfeeding and not breastfeeding the baby, you know?
Okay, so still going back to discuss what I talked about, skin to skin. Remember that skin to skin is not only done when the child is breastfeeding. For example, we also encourage fathers to bond with their children, and you know, they don't breastfeed. So what they do is that there is what we call the kangaroo care. If you see kangaroos, they have a pouch. Yes, they have a pouch where the child goes in. So the father puts the child to the chest and then covers the child up and himself. So that improves bonding. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that even children that are not breastfed, you still see them having some form of bond with whoever that is providing that kind of care. So they are what we call wet nurses, okay? They're, you know, in some century, even still right now, it still happens where a woman is not able to breastfeed, but she has a wet nurse that is able to, give the child some breast milk. She said that it's also still that bonding. So the bonding occurs because of that skin-to-skin contact. The child gets to look at your face, look at the face, the child's face, and then the, like I said, oxytocin, which is a cuddle bond, a cuddle hormone, improves. So it increases during that period.
Okay. All right, so I want to now, is it truly cost effective, as we say, or is it a case of it might be cost effective here and the money you save on this part, you spend it on the other part? So is breastfeeding as cost effective as people say it is?
You see, the benefits of breastfeeding cannot be overemphasized. It cannot be overemphasized. It's quite unfortunate that recently that previously what we had the mentality that a woman has to just be at home and then be a housewife. But you don't get that recently now, because even if a woman is just at home, that means the burden of provision of the family is just lies on the male, and then you see that maybe except situations where the man is able to meet up with the financial aid, but the woman still wants to have that feeling of that she's contributing to the family. Okay, now if you talk about the benefits of breastfeeding, to the child itself, you know, is a form of nutrition. And then the nutrition that is packed in breast milk is just so beautiful that it's easy, it's clean, it's safe, it's very readily available. Okay, now to the child itself, it also prevents the child from coming down with recurrent infections, urinary respiratory infections, diarrhea. Remember that once you are feeding a child with other milk formula, you have to wash and sterilize. To sterilize the instruments is not something that you just do with only salt and water. No, you have to sterilize it because, you know, if you don't, the child will come down with diarrhea. And then it also increases the risk of allergies in children. So children that start with milk formula quite on time have the tendency to have atopic diseases, so become allergic to things quite often. Then to the woman herself, in fact, once you are breastfeeding, okay, having said about the psychological and emotional part of increasing the bonding between you and your child, it helps in involution of the uterus, because, like I previously said, once the child is breastfeeding, there is what we call oxytocin that is being released. This oxytocin causes contraction of the uterus. So it's with that contraction of the uterus that it helps the uterus to go back to its pre-pregnancy state. The only thing that's the problem there in terms of having to feed the mother more is that once you are breastfeeding, you see that you are burning up to 500 calories a day. And yes, 500 calories a day. So if you are thinking about the weights you gained through your pregnancy, you see that most of our mothers tend to now start dieting after breastfeeding, which we don't really encourage at that point, because you are burning this calorie. Your body is trying to meet up with the demand. Then the demand for the child itself. Then another thing is that for the mother itself, there is this, within the first 6 months of life, if you breastfeed exclusively, when I mean exclusively, it's just that you are giving this child only breast milk. You are not giving water itself. Breast milk has more than 80%, the constituent of breast milk is more than 80% water. So you don't even have to give the child breast milk. And then the other thing that was now included there is that it has to be for the first 6 months of life. Now, if you are breastfeeding a child for the first 6 months of life, the chances that you have what we call the natural contraception. So you are not able to take in again. But within 6 months or after 6 months of birth, ovulation could come back again. It's just that it won't be regular. But that the first 6 months of life, you have a certain protection against getting pregnant again. So it's a form of contraception. Now, because of the cost effective, we're talking about the cost effectiveness. I don't know if you have an idea how much is some of these milk products in the market. You have some brands like the NAN, the SMA Gold, My Boy, and all those. I don't know if you know the cost. Now, one of the teen milk that the child that is available, commercially available, a child takes one tin within 2 weeks. In fact, if it extends within 2 weeks, that means the child is not feeding properly. So the child is expected to finish that milk within 10 days, 10 to 12 days, 10 to 14 days. Yeah. Now, if you check one can of that thing, depending on the one that you are buying, is around 5,000 naira to 7,000. So imagine buying that every 2 weeks, and then how much you are making. And remember that these children, the more that they grow, it's just like that their stomach is just very tiny, and the more they grow, they have need. Yes, they have need. Their stomach keep increasing. So the need for feeding, for more feed increases. So that means you have to feed more. So you can imagine spending that amount of time when you can easily breastfeed. So I understand the controversies around it. I understand the questions and discussions around it. But if you're now talking about the reality, yes, breast milk breastfeeding is cost effective.
It's cost effective, but then there are a lot of other realities, you know.
Yes.
And then women that are not able to breastfeed due to whatever reason, because you just said that there are women that are unable to breastfeed, you know. And the unable to breastfeed, I think we should just explore that on finality. What really causes it? Is it unable to breastfeed throughout the child's toddler or child's infancy stage? Is it throughout, or maybe it changes after a couple of times? And then there are women that also have like low production when it comes to milk production. It's also really low for them. But what really causes this?
Okay, so God is wonderful that He made it in such a way that every pregnant woman, even not just pregnant women, I'm sure you must have heard about lactation induction, maybe for adoption mothers or same-sex couples that are trying to have a child. So they induce breastfeeding in them. Okay. So God has made it that once a woman is pregnant, the hormones are available, and then milk production is now is ongoing. And following birth, there has to be a milk letdown. But one of the things that we have to understand is that within those first few days after birth, we don't really expect so much breast milk, because there's what we call colostrum. Colostrum is that very thick, yellow, opaque, that has plenty of nutrients, immunoglobulin, antibodies that will prevent the child from coming down with infection. So that's what we have within that period, the colostrum. So the mother will feel like she's not producing enough, but it's just transitional. Then within 4 to 1 week, there's what we call a transitional milk before the mature milk now comes in. Now, psychology plays a major role in lactation. As little as not having the family support, community support, spousal support, partner support affects lactation. So psychologically, we have this feeling culturally that once a childbirth happens, that everybody's elated, everybody's happy. But that, in some cases, is not true. Yes, there's what we call postpartum depression and anxiety, fear. It really happens because now this is somebody that had she had herself to herself alone, and now she had the need to carry a pregnancy, and now she's taking care of somebody else and herself, including her family. So if you don't provide that support for her, you see that emotionally, psychologically, she's going to be down, and that alone affects milk production a lot. Now, secondly, there are some sicknesses that there are some occasions where the child is not able to breastfeed. For example, a child that has a lactose intolerance, so milk intolerance, is that the child, once the child takes anything milk, the child starts having some of these features of allergy, abdominal, colicky pains, watery stool, and all those things. So that's also there. Then some medications as well limit or reduce the production of breast milk. Something like antihypertensive drugs like labetalol, So some of those things reduce the breast milk production. However, we also encourage mothers as much as possible to improve their breast milk production by feeding as much as possible, because it's a positive feedback mechanism. What I mean by positive feedback is what you are giving me that is what I'm bringing out. So it's not like you are giving me too much and I'm saying, please, no, I don't want it again. Stop. No, that's not what happens in lactation. So the more the child suckles on the breast, the more the breasts have a need that milk production should be done, and then the more it keeps producing it. So it's a positive feedback mechanism.
All right. I think we've been able to talk about this holistically. Thank you very much, Dr. Jidofo. Thank you so much for joining us today on our health and lifestyle series on breastfeeding. Thank you so much. And of course, to you, our viewers, thank you very much for watching the Afia Morning Show throughout this week. Of course, the Afia Morning Weekend Show is still tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Afia TV Official. My name is Favor Obinyaruba.
And I remain OG and want you could have a splendid Friday and a weekend ahead. Bye for now.
Time check, it's 2 p.m. and it's time for us to vibe, chill, and relax. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lunch Break on Afia TV.